2.5 weeks.
Is your son? Where's he gonna be?
Charleston. My future daughter-in-law and everything, so she used to work for, as assistant to
It's all different leagues.
yeah, so she's in a whole new yeah. So I just have to basically show up.
I know, but just take it. Just take it.
Because they all do different years. No, I left.
Right in the front? No, it's more than you.
Hi, how are you?
Girl, I gotta lose 6 pounds.
What wedding?
My son. Oh, no. I don't know. That's what I
How are you?
Oh my God.
Hits the keyboard. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And then you put it.
She retired. And then she retired, and she went back for part-time. Yeah. So you got
Well, I haven't been.
Where do you
big Good morning, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started today. Both Jim and Rob are in Austin, Texas at a team leader training event. So you have got myself and Lisa Wren today. So we're going to get started with first, does anybody have anything good to tell us? Any victories over the past week that they want to share? Yes, ma'am.
I took the day off yesterday on a Monday, and guess what? The world just went on with it.
Things didn't fall apart, did they?
Not a thing, not a thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody else have anything good you want to share? Any cheers for peers or anything good?
And I want to say, the reason why I did it, because I know the mask that we wear, and we're so strong and important. And I woke up and I had hit a wall, and I said, I was gonna tough it out.
Right.
And I accountability, right? So I told Elliot, I'm like, I feel empty today. I feel like I should take the day off. And he's like, just take the day off. I'm like, but it's a Monday. But I took a mental health day, you all, and we all need to do that.
Yes.
For ourselves.
And they don't necessarily come on the weekends. I
No.
mean, they do not. So kudos to you for that, and I recognize that. Anybody else before we move on? All right, going once, twice. All right, next. Partners. Miss Carrie, come on out.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie with Thomas and Brown, if I've not had a chance to meet you yet. We have a class, and Jim always says, tell us what you do, just in case. We're hosting attorney, we're affiliate partners here. We have an office downstairs. We have one in Woodstock, Galleria, Alpharetta, Blue Ridge, Buckhead, Cartersville, and West Cobb. So we're all over for you guys. A lot of those are KW offices too, which is fun. And we have a CE class coming up on May 23rd. Just a side note, my birthday's on the 25th, so just tuck that away. The 23rd, from 1 to 4, Sizzling Steps. We're going to talk about all the GAR stipulations that are available. We're going to talk about crazy steps that we've seen in closings, when people try to write their own, what can happen. So we're going to discuss all of those fabulous things. So we hope to see you there. And I mentioned this last week, this is a grill. Somebody thought it was a cheeseburger. It's supposed to be like sizzling, whatever. I don't know. We thought it was cute. So, so we hope to see y'all there. Thank you.
Hey guys, and real quick, anything that Cheryl King does, I want to see y'all there. I mean,
She's awesome.
seriously, she is awesome. She's funny. She gets to the point.
And we love her stuff, because she's on the forms committees and she writes a lot of these changes and stuff, and you can tell if she wrote it or not, because she'll say our step or their step, or like our form or their form. It's funny. So yeah.
And so I mean, you're getting it straight from the source.
Right.
Yeah.
When she teaches these classes. So I want to see the, I mean, I try to attend everyone that she does, even if I don't need the CE credits. All right. Next, we have Silverton, Mr. Reed.
Hello, y'all. Was that for Carrie or for me? Which one? We're sharing applause.
It was a second.
Well, guys, I'm with Silverton Mortgage. We're the leading supplier of fun in East Cobb, and that's what we do. Except for Cheryl, she's fun also. And Carrie Green actually is the leading supplier of fun. But coming up fun on Saturday, our movie party. You guys know about this. Most of you do. If you don't, please let us know quickly. On Saturday morning at 10 a.m. down here at Merchants Walk, 3 movies. Guardians of the Galaxy Book Club, the 2nd edition, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. You guys do the marketing, we pay for the movie. We've had about 250 RSVPs so far. So you guys can do the math. That's about $12 a piece, etc. You can do that. So invite everybody. The more the merrier. This is what we can do for you guys. You know, we want to have a reciprocal relationship, but what we can do for you is help you to market your business. And that's what the purpose of this is. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that. The other thing too that I want to mention is that we have, we're providing happy hours at after the Red Day, after the service at Must Ministries, the day of service at Must Ministries, not like a service, like a worship service, but a day of service at Must Ministries. So there'll be one at Atlanta Hard Cidery, right down here, right down the road. and then there'll be one at Reformation in Canton. So we hope that you guys can come and serve, and then get together for a little bit of fellowship after that. The only other thing I wanted to mention was about the low-level price adjustments last week. Jim asked me to mention it. You guys, it is different, and it is true that a person with a 720 credit score putting 20% down is going to pay more for their mortgage than they would have prior to those changes. Some of the changes needed to be made. People with low credit scores and low down payments, some of the adjustments before this change were so bad that we almost couldn't do loans for those people. Those needed to be lessened. So, but the reality is that your clients are not going to know about this. This has been in place since March. It really is not making a difference. Philosophically, I'm not crazy about it, part of it, but it is what it is, and it's really not going to affect your clients. So, hope that that's clear, and we'd love to do business with y'all. Any questions? Oh, good.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so I was just told that we do something new now, and we do an agent staff highlight in the team meetings. And today we are highlighting 2 of our agents, and the first one, please stand up, Ms. Shariti. How are you? So, 7 years in real estate. Have they all 7 years been here, or did you start somewhere first?
No, all 7 years here.
Oh my. Very good. Cool. Anything you want to share? Like anything you want to share about yourself? You want to share with us? I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry.
Nothing new. I did started to do real estate, but then I took a break in between. So now I'm actually back up again.
Well, we love seeing you back in the office. Welcome, welcome.
Yes, that is me. Yeah, I just thought I'll get a new look along with.
And I really like the short haircut.
Yeah.
I like the short haircut. All right, our other agent is Nikki Murphy, and I don't see her, so I don't think she's here. So we will have to do a repeat on her. She used to be a stay-at-home mom, and she is 2 months new to our office, and I think she has joined the Joanne Luntz team. So I think she's Joanne Luntz buyer agent now, and she's pretty. I've met her a couple of times in classes, and she's very excited to start her real estate career, which is awesome. All right, Power Hour is every Wednesday. 9 to 10 is script practice, and then from 10 to 11 is when you do your lead gen, and then 11 to 12 is group coaching. So Wednesdays are a big day around here, so I want to see all your faces on Wednesday. We have got this Wednesday, tomorrow, group coaching is with Carrie Coulter, Stop Chasing the Squirrels. Or we can call those the shiny red ball. We can call them that, lots of different things. So please come and attend that. She's doing it in person and Zoom. So if for some reason you can't be here, you can join her on Zoom.
Should we talk about how to use command instead of all the shiny objects?
All the other techie stuff. And then with the group coaching chat, GPT.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's basically artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And Amanda Warren uses it to generate her property description. So you can put keywords and it will generate a whole description for you.
Did she teach you a class Monday about that? Okay, so
So it's pretty cool. Y'all need to come.
I didn't.
Angela?
Sorry, I just took a bite.
When is it?
It's
Monday.
Monday, the 15th.
I used this
We're gonna do
to
it up here, so.
I used this description from my last listing,
Really nice.
and it was so much better than I could have ever written
Oh,
myself.
really?
I will never not use ChatGPT GPT for listing. It's amazing.
Rich, you had something to say?
Yeah, this is really an interesting subject that I think is going to be revolutionary for all of us. I was at a dinner down in Florida, and my son-in-law is up the food chain at Meta. And I said, I can't get my arms around this thing. I've been reading all about it, and I'm not sure I really understand. Obviously, you can Google things and, Alexa this and that. I said, I really don't have a handle on it. Well, he's got this crazy thing on his phone. And we're sitting at dinner, and he said, well, let me show you how this thing works for you. And he said, talk to me about, say, real estate right here. We're at Marco Island down in near Naples. And I said, okay, tell the thing that I've got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath on a Deepwater Canal. We've got a pool. The home was built in 1982. It's renovated. Just pop that in, okay? Yeah, less than 5 seconds. This thing, if we were to print it, it would be 2 pages long of description. And what's awesome or crazy about the thing is it thinks for you, okay? So it took what I just said, all right, think about this a minute. It began the description, and it said this: imagine going out on your boat and you're viewing the sunset, and the sun is going down just after you left the inlet from your home that sits on that Deepwater Canal. That's how it began. And then it went into this exhaustive description that was so far beyond what I was telling you, right? It just came up with stuff. So obviously it's pulling from all over the world of homes on Deepwater canals. And then of course its location was in Southwest Florida, knew about sunsets, knew about the inlet. I didn't say anything about the inlet, and I didn't say anything about a boat, right? But it took all that. And I'm just thinking, man, that's one of the hardest things we have in listings, right? Is coming up with something that's creative. Now, it was wrong, and that's what you gotta be aware of, is that it's not necessarily gospel truth, but you can take from it a ton of stuff, and it made that listing delicious. It really did. Oh, I'd buy the house. Incredible. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. All right, well, that would be fun. We
It's
need
the
to,
next big thing.
it is. Yes. All right, we have got on May 16th, that's next Tuesday from 12 to 1:30, same date. Where is that actually located?
It's a webinar
It's a webinar, okay.
for the KW Young
Young
Professionals.
professionals, okay, cool. Well, how old do you have to be before you're too old to be a young
I
professional?
think it's
No.
40 to live.
Oh, okay. All right, so the big thing this week, the thing that we're most excited about is Red Day is this coming Thursday. So if you have not gone to your email and gone to the Sign Up Genius and signed up, you've got many opportunities to sign up to help participate on Thursday. I'm gonna let my co-host, Lisa Wren, talk a little bit more about Red Day since she's on the committee, about the different opportunities that you have if you have not signed up yet.
So Red Day is Thursday. Officially, the office is closed. And, we encourage everybody to shut down their business for a day, like Catherine did yesterday, and go out and serve. And we're gonna be at Musman's Ministries. And so we're thrilled to have Dr. Ike here today to speak to us about it. But, we've got a crew working at their donation center in the morning and in the afternoon. And we've got all the slots filled, but if anybody wants to be an alternate in case something comes up with one of our volunteers, please let me know. We would love to have some people in the wings. We're also doing, we're manning their mobile pantry in Canton from 3 to 5:30, and we're actually gonna get to experience the end user there. So we'll be distributing food to the people who need it up there. Thank you to Jeff and Camillo and Supreme for getting the paddy wagon. They're gonna feed everybody lunch here in between those sessions. And also Thomas and Brown is co-hosting that with them. And then for Heather and Reed to give us happy hour afterwards to celebrate, that would be great. But if you're not signed up for a work session, come to the office. You've seen all the donations down there. We're gonna be putting together the school lunch kits that will be distributed this summer when the kids are not in school. It's all with non-perishables. So it'll be a lot of fun with everybody together assembling those. If you can't be here in person, or in addition to, we are accepting monetary donations and we'll purchase the food that goes in there. And also, when we look at the donation list that is on here and that Kimberly put downstairs, we would love to have those donations. You don't even have to find the email in the Sign Up Genius. You can just hit this QR code anywhere. These are all over the office with the phone. and just take care of it right there. So we've had some agents and Jim who have made very generous donations that have enabled us to really increase that, so we look forward to y'all coming out. It's good, it's always a lot of fun, especially if you've never done it. It's a great bonding day and way to get to know people.
So where downstairs should I leave, because I brought my cans, but I don't know where to leave it?
You'll see everything in the lobby, kind of towards the front of the building, where all those boxes are,
So
just try on.
Choose.
Oh, yes, and if you are working at the donation center, or the mobile pantry, please wear closed-toed shoes.
And your red day t-shirt.
Yes,
And your red day
and your
t-shirts,
red day
yes.
t-shirt.
And if you don't have a Red Day t-shirt, you can get it downstairs behind Billy at the front desk for $10. For $10. Yeah. Because
I'm so glad I have everybody here reminded to wear them.
before we get have our guest speaker up for today, we're gonna watch this short video about Must Ministries. Lisa, if you can grab the light switch right there.
Full time buying a nice 3 or 4 bedroom house to where, you know, everyone wasn't on top of each other, and definitely finding something within the program's requirements as far as the rent amount, and looking into the future, something that they would be able to sustain long term, you know, to avoid moving again.
Must came late. I had just got home from work. My birthday was the next day. They say, you know, the front door blew open.
In just a few moments Thursday afternoon, everything changed for Welesia Patterson. The family says once the tree landed on the house, the holes it created allowed rain to pour in and ruin everything inside. They don't have renter's insurance to cover any of their belongings.
I'm like, God, I don't know how I'm gonna pay this rent, but we're gonna pay it. This morning called me, she said, I have a house. So I said, God is giving me an opportunity to get back on my feet and make my kids happy. Okay, we got a house now. How we gonna get furniture? But Miss Morgan in 104.7, the bitch was here. And we pulled up. And they told me that it was furniture and everything.
There's gonna be a beautiful bed and a dresser in your bedroom, and twin beds and one bed.
that bed's coming.
Dining room table, couch, everything.
Thank you. Thank you for being the wonderful people you are. Thank you for dedicating the time, your energy. Thank you. Thank you. And continue to do great work.
So because of you and all of the support that we get, all of our sponsors that help make things happen, we are able to help families like Welesia's and make miracles happen.
Well, if that doesn't get you motivated, I don't know what will. So Lisa is going to introduce our guest speaker today, who is going to share more with us about Must Ministries.
Okay. Reverend, this is a long one, his name and his title is like this one. Reverend Dr. Dwight Ike Reichard is the president and CEO of Must Ministries, serving 65,000 people each year struggling in poverty. Ike has successfully combined business experience with ministry and has an outstanding reputation for transforming communities through serving others. 3 years running, the Atlanta Business Chronicle named him as one of the 50 CEOs of Who's Who in Atlanta nonprofits. He was recently named in Georgia Trend magazine as one of the 500 most influential Georgians and selected as the Marietta, Georgia Citizen of the Year for 2022. Must Ministries is now the 34th largest nonprofit in metropolitan Atlanta, according to the Atlanta Business Chronicle in 2022. Ike is also senior pastor of Piedmont Church. Since 2005, he has guided the building of membership and services to a high and sustainable level. He continues to minister and maintain a strong relationship with his church. Previously, he was founding pastor of North Star Church and guided that church to unprecedented growth, from 1997 to 2006. North Star is recognized as a mega church and noted as the fastest growing church startup in the world's largest Protestant denomination. In the corporate arena, Ike served as Executive Vice President, Chief People Officer, and originator of the Office of People and Culture for Home Bank Mortgage Corporation from 2000 to 2007. He has co-authored 2 popular daily inspirational books, Success Insights and Daily Insights with Zig Ziglar for Tyndall House Publishing. He is also the author of Treasures from the Dark, Discovering Your North Star, and Discovering Your North Star Journal, and is contributing author to Human Capital Management Strategies. He and his wife Robin have 2 grown daughters, Danielle Reigard and Abigail Fusco, and 2 granddaughters, Addison and Katie.
Thank you so much. Wow, I listened to all that stuff. No wonder I feel tired. I'm telling you. Don't you love bios? They make you look so good, and you know the truth is you're not nearly as good as the bio makes you appear. Also, got to give a shout out to my friends there at Supreme Lending. Let's see, Jeff Hart over here, and my brother back there, and Pat Flood is my best friend in the world, and so I always feel comfortable when I'm around real estate folks and when I'm around mortgage people, and Silverton will give you a shout out over there as well. But I'm honored to get to be with you today. Are y'all doing all right?
Yes.
Y'all doing good?
Yes.
All right, good. Finally coming out of COVID. Are we happy about that or what? Trying to see things get back to normal. And y'all don't mind, I just want to have a conversation with you today and then talk to you about a couple things. Tell you about Must. I know we have till 11 o'clock, but if I had to listen to me until 11 o'clock, I'd go crazy. And so I'll give you a little bit of your day back. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right, so at 2 minutes to 11, we'll be done. But you can't ever trust a preacher. If they ever look at you and say, my message is going to be short this morning, I always watch my wife drop her head like, oh dear God, here it goes. He thinks it's going to be short, but it's not going to be. But just some of the things that are going on. COVID changed everything. I mean, it really did. It altered our lives in a lot of, different ways. Some of those ways were harder on us all. You're certainly going through it. You see it in your industry right now. You see a lot of things that are topsy-turvy. We're hoping things, continue to get back to whatever normal used to be. And that's why Jim Collins coined a phrase. He called it the new normal. And he says the new normal is whatever things turn out to be in the future. And at Must Ministries, boy, did we see a lot of change. I know the exact day, I know about what time it was when I realized what a force COVID was going to be. We were gathered in our boardroom. It was on March the 13th, on a Friday. Should have known right then that we were in for something else. And I'm sitting there, and on the phone, we have the Cobb Douglas Health Board. We have the superintendent of Marietta City Schools, Cobb County Schools, Cherokee County Schools are all on calls with us. And they begin to talk about, now this was on March the 13th, they began to talk about how COVID was going to impact the year. And I'm thinking they're talking about the year that's going to be ending in May when school is getting out. And they started talking about that it's going to be impacting us through the end of the year. And when you're at that level with the people with that kind of a knowledge base, you start realizing that, man, things are going to, really, really be different. And boy, were they ever. I mean, churches closed and casinos closed. And when heaven and hell can agree on something, you really know that it really is earth-shattering there that you're going through. And so in 2019 at Must Ministries, let me give you an idea about who we were. In 2019, we had served 33,000 unique individuals. And I make sure that people understand unique because That means that you might have a person who comes back to you for 3 or 4 different things, because MUST does a lot of different things for people. And so we only count them one time. And when you think about MUST and you think about the things that we do, I always tell people to get a mental image. Think about a high wire and how people, walk on a high wire or a tight wire. I actually co-authored a book that was self-published a few years ago called Tight Wire Living, and about how people are on that high wire, and MUST is the safety net underneath that high wire. If for some reason they get knocked off the high wire, we're going to be there to try and to catch them. And we do that in 5 different ways. We help people with shelter, which is the thing we're most known for, that we have a homeless shelter. We help people with food, and we do that in a variety of ways that I'll talk to you about today, because I want you to be educated about what we do, because with your Red Day, you're going to be coming there and you're going to be serving, and we appreciate that so much. We have a medical clinic. We help people with clothing, and then we help people to get jobs. And you were the gentleman, I have my back to you, you were talking about artificial intelligence a few moments ago. And artificial intelligence is pretty amazing. While everything was kind of shut down with COVID as far as jobs were concerned, we started investing money in getting better with what we call workforce development at MUST, and we use artificial intelligence. We have some developers over in India that we work with, and so now when our clients come into us and they're trying to get a job, the way you were describing a property and the way that the artificial intelligence created that narrative, we're able to do that with people with their resumes. And so to give you an idea, back in 2019, we helped 400 people to get jobs in that entire year. And it represented $12.9 million back into the economy. But then when we went with artificial intelligence and we're doing the things that we're doing now, and very soon our clients will be able to sit in front of an avatar that's going to interview them for jobs. But to give you an idea, we still got to the end of June for our fiscal year, but right now, this year, over 800 people have gotten jobs through MUST Ministries. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million back into the economy. And so we try to be as cutting edge as we can be in the nonprofit world to be able to help people. Because our key is to help people have dignity and respect. I mean, that's the bottom line. Most people in their wildest imaginations can't imagine having to come to MUST, but they're walking on that high wire and something happens. And so we're the safety net underneath. Now, I want you to understand, we're not a hammock for people to be lazy. And you would also need to understand the vast majority of people that we help would be classified as working poor. These are people that are working sometimes 2 and 3 jobs, but they're minimum wage jobs. They're finding it harder and harder to be able to make their ends meet. And so for maybe the people in this room, and certainly for myself, we're walking on a high wire, but it would take something pretty catastrophic to be able to knock us off. For the majority of people around, that's just not true. Do you know in metropolitan Atlanta, Jack Harden, who's the head of the Atlanta Regional Commission on Homelessness, along with former Mayor Shirley Franklin, we were with them in a meeting, and they said if someone had a $500 emergency, 47% of the people in metropolitan Atlanta could not meet that emergency. They would not have the funds necessary to meet the emergency. Then you add this caveat to what we do at MUST, and it really makes kind of who we are crystallized, and that's the fact that 80% of the people that we help at MUST are women and children. That may not be who you have in mind when you think about who's homeless, and you think about some of the problems that people are going through. And another thing that a lot of people do not realize And here, we're out in Cobb County, so we're out in the suburbs. Most people tend to think of like homelessness as an urban issue. But the fastest growing segment of poverty in America today is suburban poverty, not urban poverty. It's suburban poverty. And the Brinkman Institute, which is a think tank, did a study, and they said for every $72 that is raised inside the perimeter for organizations like Musk, for every $72 there, the equivalent outside the perimeter is $2. Because people think of these types of problems as being something that's in a city environment. And that landscape is changing. Back in 2007, when we had the major adjustment in our economy, right, and housing and all of those kinds of things, we hit that really hard stop. The Wall Street Journal did a study on how it was wiping out middle-class America, and they used Roswell, Georgia, as the focus of that particular article. Because poverty can hit anywhere and it can hit everywhere. And Cobb County has roughly 770,000 people that are here in this area. And Musk Ministries, by far and away, has the largest shelter to be able to take care of people. So if you go back to 2019, we're serving 33,000 unique individuals. And now today, I noticed even in the bio that Lisa was reading just a moment ago, that number is now changed. And it'll be closer to, we're now serving about 75,000 people a year, unique individuals. So in 3 years, we've more than doubled. I know everybody in this room would love for your book of business to have doubled in the last 3 years, right? I mean, that would be pretty impressive. And so the need out there is just tremendous. I mean, it really is. And if we do not have partners like you, the people who make up your organization, then there's no way for us to be able to accomplish, what we want to be able to do. And I want to give you some of the latest and greatest stats. I'll be short on these because I don't think anyone ever really enjoys stats, but I think you might find this interesting if you live in Cobb County. This year in the Cobb County schools, there's 107,000 students. 107,000 students. Of the 107,000 students, 43,000 are on free and reduced lunch programs. So, it's tremendous what is happening with families and not being able to take care of their kids. 24,000 of those students that are currently in our schools are experiencing transiency, which is primarily due to economic impacts. Depending on where you are in this county, the dichotomy is striking. If you're in the southern part of the county, most of the schools in that part of the area are at 70% free and reduced, and there's a couple of schools that are at 100% free and reduced lunches. They also came out, now I wish I could quote the source here recently, but it was a study in Cobb County. Do you know if you live on the north side of the county versus the southern part of the county, your lifespan is about 3.5 years different within a county. And so when you look at all of those kinds of things and you look at what's taking place, it's staggering. So this year in Cobb County schools, and I'll give you Marietta City as well, there are right now over 2,000 students that identify as homeless. They are without homes. They are trying to find ways to be able to survive in their families. If you add in Marietta City schools, that's another 600. So 2,600 students in our Cobb County schools are without homes. Then you go over to places like Kennesaw State University, Life University. These are all places where Musk goes to try to help. You would be surprised how many students in college are homeless because they were in our system as foster children. And when you turn 18, that spigot is cut off. And all of a sudden, you're on your own. One of the things that we do as a church, I'll plug Piedmont Church. If you don't have a church, come see us. But at Piedmont Church, we took on last year buying for some of those students. I think altogether we did about 15 students. We bought them the meal plans for the year. These kids that were without homes, trying to go to college, trying to make a better way for their life. And so when you look at the enormity of what is out there, there's no way to be able to address the problems without a community that really cares. So I've described to you somewhat of how great the need was, and what we were doing back in 2019. And then all of a sudden, COVID comes along. And during COVID, we served over 250,000 people over those 3 years. That's how much it grew. We've settled out now to we're serving 70,000 plus people. 75,000 is probably where the number is going to hit by the end of this summer. And you can just see the tremendous need for food. Right now, Musk has 30 physical pantries embedded inside of schools. For some of you that might be dealing with food this week, this is what you're going to be a part of. 30 physical pantries inside of these schools, but we serve, out of those 30 physical locations, we serve over 100 schools. So some of the schools, borrow the pantry from the other school. And, it's amazing how much food gets distributed. I met recently with one of our top programs in the county. They're football coaches. And they came in to talk with me because they're seeing so many of their players that are having their impact on the field being, neutralized to an extent because these kids aren't getting enough to eat. And so we started looking at ways to find things that athletes in particular, the power bars, all of these different kinds of things that we could get that are what we call shelf-stable items, to be able to even go into that niche and to be able to help. So within the schools, those are the kinds of things that you're supporting by your Red Day, by your food drives, by the different things that you do. And I just want you to realize how incredibly valuable you are to us. And so as you look at the landscape, I mean, it's just absolutely overwhelming. But here was what I found so interesting during COVID. The only thing that exceeded the level of need was the level of generosity. I mean, it was staggering. Y'all need some good news? Let me give you some good news. Man, this chair is squeaking. We got to get the WD-40 on this thing. But here's some good news. During COVID, during that 3 years, Musk had embarked on building a brand new homeless shelter. And I emphasize brand new because most homeless shelters are repurposed buildings. They're a repurposed church. That's what we had for years at what we called the Elizabeth Inn. And we had 72 beds that were there. And every month, on average, we were turning away between 200 and 300 people a month. That's how many people we were turning away. During COVID, those numbers dropped drastically. And you go, why would your numbers for homelessness, why would they drop so drastically as far as like getting people into the shelter? Because all of a sudden, we had a pipeline of money that we had never had before from the federal government for us to be able to put people into hotels and things like that. Now, this is pretty staggering to me. I used to say in 2019, tonight when you lay your head down on a pillow, there's going to be approximately 300 other people that are going to be putting their head on a pillow because Musk provides it for them. Whether it was people in, the hotels that are stay by the week type situations, or whether it was in our shelter during the pandemic, we got up to 1,500 people a night. Families were struggling. They couldn't take in family members like maybe they had in the past. And all of a sudden, we just saw that landscape just tremendously change. But again, our value that we were able to be a part of is that we were ready for the crisis when it came. So before the pandemic started, we had set out to build a new homeless shelter. And along with that shelter, we were building a new clinic, and we were building new workforce development, and we were moving our offices, and we were going to this new campus. And the project was about $24 to $25 million. And then the pandemic happened. And then we went through some variance issues. Did any of you hear about Musk on the news with the variance issues? I mean, it was what, 2 years we were delayed, get this, over 90 feet, y'all in the real estate world, over 90 feet on a 6.5 acre property. 90 feet, 2 years. But you know what happened? Sometimes, it's just a great lesson for us all. Sometimes your greatest disappointments can turn into your greatest appointments. They really can. And what you think is a setback is actually a setup, because with that extra 2 years, we were doing our fundraising and we were able to build what we were building. The shelter alone is about 14 million. Think of it as a motel. There's 136 beds that are there, plus 36 what we call respite beds, which are beds when it's cold weather. It's beds when it's extremely hot. We're there to be able to take in people that are living outside. And when you see these people living outside, just always keep this in your mind. About 25% of those people are military veterans. PTSD, other issues, addictions, things they're going through that are out there. But all of a sudden, we had 172 beds. And so we built a hotel. Well, when you got 172 beds, you got to feed those people. So we also built a restaurant there, right? To be able to accommodate them. How many of you in the room have ever served at the Old Muss location in the kitchen? Wait, if you haven't been to this kitchen, where do you go? Because our old kitchen was about the size of one in your house. And this kitchen looks like you're in a restaurant. And all of this work that we're doing, we will move our offices to this location the end of July. We will now have completed our work. And here's what I love. We will be debt-free on it. So we raised $24 million. We sold 2 properties. That was about $4 million of it. And then, you know, and remember, I'm a preacher, okay? So I'm going to talk about God and take an offering. So get ready for that here in just a minute. But here's a God story for you. It's September the 30th. I can tell you the exact date. It's September the 30th, and we wanted to build everything debt-free. We didn't want to get a loan. We didn't even want to do a bridge loan. We wanted to pay for it as we were going, right? And so it's September the 30th, and by the end of the year, we have to raise $1.5 million. And we've already, Woodruff, you know, has supported us greatly. The Woodruff Foundation, Home Depot, Keller Williams. I mean, we have all these fabulous partners, but we're still $1.5 million off, and we've got to have it by the end of the year. And so I'm in Florida. It's September the 30th, and I check my emails, and I've got this email, and you'll know where this story is going when I start telling you. Dear Dr. Riker, we would like to congratulate you and Musk Ministries on doing such a great job. Please do not think that this email is bogus. I'm writing to let you know that you're going to be receiving a second email. And when you do, we're going to have further instructions for you. How many of y'all have ever received a similar email, right? I have erased our national debt on just those kind of emails that I've gotten over the years. And so I send the email to our IT people. I'm in Florida. I send it to them and I go, hey, is this gonna be one of those fishing expeditions and I click on a link and all of a sudden everybody in the organization is gonna hate me for having been dumb enough to do it? And so he texts me back and goes, you know, the IP address looks legit. I have no idea what they're talking about because all they said was, we've noticed what great work you're doing. Next day, I get the second email. Dear Dr. Reichert, please do not think that this is a scam. I'm writing to let you know that we have observed the work that you guys are doing, and we want to invite you to apply for a grant. No name of who it is or what's got anything to do with. And you can apply for anywhere from a few $1,000s to $5 million. So, okay, watch for your third email. I get the third email. Here's the grant process. We're used to dealing with government grants, and I'm not exaggerating. Sometimes the stack can be that high when you're doing government grants. I mean, it's just enormous. So we look at this grant, it's 16 pages. And honestly, if we had had one of our people sit down and write the grant that we would obviously get money for because we do everything they're talking about, we couldn't have even written it to look better for us. And so we sent it in and we waited. And I get an email one day. I'm at Chewy's over on Barrett Parkway with my wife for lunch, and I get an email. And I immediately recognize, Dear Dr. Reichert, want to congratulate you and Must Ministries. We have awarded you $5 million. Here's the killer part. Signed, Jeff Bezos.
Oh, wow.
$5 million of Amazon stock. I know, the Nigerian friends, yeah. The buddies in the Bank of Canada, I get that one a lot. That Bank of Canada has a lot of money that's owed to me if I just ever get it. And so all of a sudden, I mean, we, in the grant, we said, could we use $1.5 million for the shelter? You know, sometimes an absence of resources doesn't mean that the resources are absent. And there has to be a faith part in it to me.
Yes.
You know, you have to have that little preposition there, but God, you know, can come through and he can do things that are just phenomenal. So now I'm going to get to y'all, and I'll be done here in a moment. So during the 2019, this is amazing to me. We had 17,000 people volunteer at Must in the year 2019. 17,000. That's not volunteer hours. That's people. 17,000 volunteers. Well, what do you think happened when COVID hit? We lost all of our volunteers. And if any of you give to charities, and I'm sure in this room, different charities that you give to, always check them out. And there's a great third-party app that you can download and use called Charity Navigator. They're a third-party entity. They do not have to answer to anyone. All they do is go take the tax forms that a nonprofit fills out, which is called the 1099, and they take it and they study those, and they can tell you what percentage of money is spent doing the actual programs rather than overhead. This past year, we will probably never achieve this again because we got so much government funding that just inflated our numbers. When I went to Must, we were a $3.5 million organization, maybe $5 at the top end later that year. This past year, we were $35.8 million organization. But so much of that was government funding. But this past year, we operated Must on 9 cents of every dollar. That was our total overhead on everything that we do, salaries and everything else. The reason that we've been so strong through the years, volunteers. People like y'all taking your valuable time, shutting down your office to come in and to be there with us and to, you know, to realize just how amazing an organization can be. And for you to get to see it up close and personally, because some of you are going to be working on summer lunches. If you're up early tomorrow morning, I'm going to be on Good Day Atlanta tomorrow morning, putting together the children's meal kits. And you will be a part of a process that by the end of the summer, we estimate that somewhere in the neighborhood of 550,000 meals will be served. It's an amazing program that has just grown by leaps and bounds. And what we're doing now is we're providing breakfast and lunch type shelf-stable items for these kids. And we go out and we have these routes that we run and we have all these hubs and areas. And so that's where we're taking care of people. How many of you are going to be in Canton and be a part of Mobile Must? All right, great. You're going to see our great looking bus, which is the most wonderful photo op. Listen, Keller Williams knows everything about photo ops, right? I mean, you guys are the world's best in that. That bus is a great photo op. When I had the idea, along with a couple of other people, of doing it, I could just see people walking through that bus, getting their fresh fruits and vegetables and all of these kinds of things. The first day that bus went out, there were 300 cars in line. You can't trot everybody through that bus and let them just kind of pick out things. So now we have the trucks that are there with you. This year, over 17,000 families, over 70,000 people will be fed just through Mobile Must. I went down off of what used to be called Cleveland Avenue in downtown Atlanta, and our team went down and we served a few Fridays ago. And it was just, man, it was incredible. It was so much fun being out there. We've got a great partner, the Atlanta Braves, what they call the Home Plate Foundation is part of that. And so they're usually out there with us and some other volunteer organizations. And so that bus is out all the time. It goes to Kennesaw State University. It goes down to Life University. It's in different neighborhoods, different areas, because so many of our clients are transportation challenged. And so when we can roll in and we can make that difference by going into the neighborhoods, it's just absolutely fantastic. Some of you are going to be building hygiene kits. And those hygiene kits sometimes are almost the difference between life and death for people who choose to live outside. And when you see those people that live outside, sometimes you see them acting out and doing things, understand that probably about 80% of those people have mental illnesses that they're dealing with. And a lot of them have an exacerbating physical ailment as well, a lot of diabetes. I was on a call yesterday with police officials and a group that's trying to do better work in different places. And we have a great working relationship with Cobb County Police, the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Owens, Marietta City Police, amazing working relationships, because our goal is to get those people into a place that's safe for them. So when you're going out and you're doing all of this, I want you to know why it's so important. So the last thing I want to do with you, I was thinking about this group and I knew that y'all would go with me on this. So what I want to talk to you about for just a few minutes is why volunteering can kick your butts with one T. So we're going to have a butt reduction. We're going to take the two T's off the word butt. We're just going to use the word butt. And here's what butt stands for. Y'all are also the kings and queens of acrostics and acronyms in this organization, right? I mean, y'all got just a ton of them going on. Butt stands for Behold Underlying Truth Syndrome. You say, well, what do you mean? I mean, have you ever noticed that we are really good at coming up with excuses, and the word but acts as a big eraser? You know, like, I would like to invest in others, but I just don't have the energy. I just don't have the energy to get out there. All of us have busy lives. All of us have a lot of things that are going on, but honestly, y'all, cute cat videos can only take you so far in life. And yeah, they thrill me just like they do you. But, you know, I would like to volunteer, but I just don't have the time. Time and energy are the two biggest things that people say, the reason I don't volunteer. But you know, you have 168 hours in a week. And if you can spend any part of that time dedicated to something bigger than yourself, honest to goodness, it's like medication. I'm going to give you some stats here that'll help to be able to bolster, you know, my point. I would like to help others, but I'm kind of stuck myself. I'm kind of stuck. So I want to talk to you for just a couple of minutes about behold the underlying truth. Let me show you the truth for a moment about what volunteering can do for you, what it can do for your mental health and everything else. Number one, it connects you with new friends. So y'all are an organization. You're going out and doing Red Letter Day. Why do you think Keller Williams wants y'all to go out and do this? So you build relationships. You're going to build relationships with each other while you're out there because you're going to go out there and you're going to be served. Do you know that according to Gallup, if you have a best friend at work, you're 8 times more likely to stay in your job? 8 times more likely. I used to head up HR for Home Bank Mortgage Corporation. That was my job. My job was, number one, you got to source great people. Number two, you got to get them engaged. And number three, you got to retain them. And we knew there that building Habitat for Humanity houses was huge team building for us. We have people that we went out and raised money for the American Cancer Society. Over 5 years, we raised over $1 million for the American Cancer Society. We built dozens of the Habitat for Humanity homes. And one of the biggest benefits we got was the friendships that developed among the people who went out to serve. That all of a sudden you're meeting other people and you're there and you're getting to know people. And so to me, it's such a great opportunity to be able to go out and to make new friends. It makes you happier because volunteering boosts a feeling of well-being. So let me just read this for you. How does it do that? Research has shown that when we do something for others that brings them comfort and support, our brains produce what are called happiness hormones. Doesn't that sound lovely to have some happiness hormones? It's serotonin, it's dopamine, and it's endorphins, says Trish Lockwood, who's a volunteer with the National Alliance on Mental Illness and the co-author of the book, Make a Difference with Mental Health Activism. She says there's even a term for this. It's called helper's high. I'm telling you, when I go out, and I wish I could be there with y'all, especially those of you that are going to be doing the mobile pantry. That is just so much fun. We crank up the music, we start having a great time. You're seeing people come through there, I mean, in tears. You're just seeing people that are so thankful that you're there and their family is going to be taken care of. And you just walk away going, hey, I made a difference today. I made a difference. When people come to work at Must and they're going to join our team, and I'm doing an interview with them, I always look at them and I say, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're never going to lay your head down on a pillow at night that you don't think about the fact of how many people are putting their head on a pillow right now because of Must Fest. And by the way, now that everything is shaken out, we're continuing, still roughly 1,000 people a night are putting their head on a pillow. Because we don't just do the shelter. We don't just do the extended stay motels. but we do tenant-based rental assistance. During the pandemic, we actually had case managers from BUS that were inside of courtrooms, that when families were being evicted from their home and going through that horror, that we had our case managers there to walk down the hall with them and say, here's where we're going to be able to put you. 5,000 people during the pandemic weren't put out on the streets. 5,000 people. Again, your giving is what gives us that opportunity to be able to do that. The other thing it does is it reduces loneliness, because you're going out and you're getting connected. It helps you keep physically healthy, because it's not only your mental well-being that gets supercharged when you take time to help others, but your heart can reap big rewards for it as well. According to Carnegie Mellon University, older adults who volunteer at least 200 hours per year decrease their risk of hypertension or high blood pressure by as much as 40%. Yeah, isn't that amazing? You know, Gallup does a study every year. Some of you probably have heard me use this statistic because it's mind-boggling to me. They've been doing this study now for like 26, 27 years. And they interview roughly 1 million people a year or a little more. And they ask them this question: are you engaged in your job? Are you engaged in your job? And the statistics are staggering. 55% of people, on average, now this study's got longitude. I mean, this study's been going on a while. 55% of people say, I'm not engaged in my job. I get up, I go to work, and I get a paycheck. Not engaged in my job. It gets scarier from there. 16% of people say, not only am I not engaged in my job, I am actively disengaged in my job. Have any of you ever had the joy of working with an actively disengaged coworker? You know, think back to high school when you had to do a team project and you always had that one person that was just a lump that did absolutely, and you remember the disdain that you felt for that person? You know, they didn't carry their weight, they didn't do anything. So you put those together, 16%, 55%. Now, I'm an Atlanta City school product, but I still come up with that's a 71% disconnect rate. Off the top, 71% of people go, I'm either disengaged or I'm actively disengaged. I don't care, right? Jim Collins calls the 16% that are actively disengaged, he calls them OBTs. They are on-board terrorists. They are in your organization trying to blow it up while you're giving them a paycheck. You go, wow. You know what some of the implications are? They're kind of staggering. Do you know that the highest time for an incident of heart attacks in America is Monday morning between 5 and 7 a.m.? Literal spine, and I made that statement. I said, what does that tell you? And a dude in the back yelled out, sleep late on Monday. Let the danger time pass, then get up, right? Did you know, and this is heartbreaking, that the highest time for an incident of suicides in America is Sunday night? I can't take another week. I have no sense of purpose. I'm exchanging the one thing I'll never get back, my time, for money. I have no sense of purpose. When you begin to isolate yourself, loneliness will devastate you. Did you see the story last week that our Surgeon General said loneliness is an epidemic that has as much health implications as diabetes? Think about that. And think about, you know, I have a staff member named Marlon. He's our community pastor. He does a fabulous job. We right now at Piedmont, we have just put in our 30th sensory perception room in public schools. Sensory perception rooms are the rooms for the children with autism. Costs us about $3,000 a room to go in and to do that. And we love doing it because it's for the kids. Man, you love on kids in the community, your community's gonna love you, right? And so we go in and we do those kinds of things. And what it builds in our church with our volunteers is just amazing. Because you're going out and you're making a difference. Don't be by yourself. So this staff member says to me once, he goes, the older you get, the more narrow your circle of people become. And I pushed back. I said, well, I don't think that's true, because the older you are, the more people you've known and everything else. He goes, no, think about it. He said, think about when your girls were little. You were involved in cheerleading with them. You were involved in dance with them. You were involved in their school with them. You were involved in all this stuff. And he said, think how big that circle is. He goes, the older you get, the tighter the circle becomes. And it's heartbreaking to think that some people in this country, the only person they see is the person that delivers their mail 5 days a week. Come out and volunteer. Find a place to be able to give your time. I'm also going to give you one benefit that's really cool right here. Do you know that volunteering can teach you new job skills? Here's what I love. I have a CFO who is named Ryan Van Gort. Ryan's a brilliant guy, lives here in East Cobb, had a Bible study group. That Bible study group of men, they said, hey, let's go over and volunteer at Musk. And a lot of them are very astute financially speaking. So they started coming up, they started teaching classes on financial, literacy and how to get better at things. And then Ryan, he starts out as a volunteer at Musk, and he does that. Well, then we asked Ryan, hey, would you consider being on the board at Musk? Ryan was the CFO for Mead Packaging, $1 billion corporation. Would you consider being a board member? Sure, I consider being a board member. Then a few years ago, 4 to be exact, I said, Ryan, would you step in and be our CFO? And I'm a liar. I said, if you'll give me a year, it's now 4 years. And Ryan just got back from a trip to New Zealand for a month, and he's going to be retiring on me finally. He said, now I'm going to give you closer to 5 years. You asked for 1, but I've been able to do 5. But our CFO of our organization, while we've seen this tremendous growth, started out because he came and he volunteered. I volunteered at Musk as a pastor in the community when I never had a thought of working for Musk Ministry. You would not believe how many of the people on our team, our COO, Angela Phelps, her husband was the community pastor for Roswell United Methodist Church. They came and they volunteered. Now she's the COO. In other words, she's the brains that really run the organization. I'm just the good looks that go out and tell people about the organization. Like today, when I leave you, I'm going to be over at Kennesaw Business Association talking about what we do there. And when I'm there, I'm going to tell them about being with you. Because no one gives back better than Keller Williams. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the room with you. I walk around and read your walls and know what you stand for. I've had the privilege of seeing the kind of organization that you are. And that's a halo effect for us. That you come and you serve with us. Because we tell other people. Because you got that good name. Truett Cathy, who founded Chick-fil-A, used to call it image rub. So one day they're sitting in the boardroom and they're talking about different things. And they were trying to decide, get ready, who was going to provide the condiment ketchup. And some young executive goes, does it really matter? And they said, Truett didn't get upset very often. And he got upset. He got to pop his hand on the table. He goes, yeah, it matters. Let me tell you why. He says it's called image rub. Our image is going to rub off on them. Are they comfortable with who we are? Because we are a Christian organization. And their image is going to rub off on us because we're doing business with them. At Musk Ministries, we are so glad to be able to rub up against what you guys do here at Keller. I mean, I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart because, I don't just get to come to this office and Of course, Jim is not here today. Make note that Jim never shows up when I'm here. Just saying, just making an observation, right? Volunteering, as you continue to kick the butts, behold, the underlying truth is, it helps you live longer. Helps you live a longer, happier life. There's no doubt about it. According to Psychology and Aging magazine, volunteering reduced the mortality risk by 47%. I'm trying to give you the stats. And a toxic workplace, we already talked about it. What that does. So see, while y'all are out volunteering, there's going to be other organizations that go, we're not giving anything back. And they don't. And that's why, man, I look at you and I just go, thank God for you. It gets you out of your comfort zone. It keeps your brain healthy. Volunteers are 2.5 times less likely to be prescribed anti-dementia treatment than those who do not take the time to help others. I mean, to me, you say, man, you did a lot of research. No, Reader's Digest did. I believe in R&D, not research and development. Rip it off and duplicate it. And so you just got that. That's where these points are coming from. And then it gives you a sense of purpose. Sense of purpose. You go home and you go, wow, am I blessed? And then you want to get your children involved. You go out and you do the summer ride around on summer lunch, and you go to some of these places and you see how some of these kids are living. There are places that, honest to God, I've been in third world areas, and there are areas in our community that are as bad as any third world country that I've ever been to. And then you drive 2 miles, and there's $600,000 homes, townhomes, everything else. Hey, Keller Williams, y'all do such a good job. And thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being there for us. And I'm now done, and it's only 11:15. So anyone have a question that you want to ask about that? Be glad to answer it for you. Yes, ma'am.
I gotta say, when I was listening to you, I found that you guys are doing so many things. What's driving that? Like, who's the entrepreneur behind that?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked that question.
The church does.
Sometimes when people ask about Must and why do you do so many things? Because we have other organizations that go, why don't y'all just stay in one lane? You know, just do the homeless thing, right? Well, here's the reason why. We are, by government terminology, what is described as an emergency walk-up shelter. That's a designation. The national average of people who are in emergency walk-up shelter, of going to what the government also calls a more stable housing environment, is only 40%. So 60% of people are a revolving door in emergency walk-up shelters. At Must, our percentage is 82%. 82% of the people who come into our shelter leave us and go to an even more stable housing environment. Why? Because we're helping them to get jobs. We're helping provide the clothing. We have one lady who came and spoke to our board, and she said, I went for this job interview, and all I could think was, what if they knew where these clothes came from? Would they still value me? Because we have clothing here for job interviews. And we do the mock interviews, and soon that avatar is going to do that interview. And it's going to tell you, hey, make more eye contact. Hey, this is on your resume. Bring this piece in when you do your interviews. So the biggest thing behind that is we call all those 5 things, we call them wraparound services. And the more sticking points you have to your clients, the more you can help them along the way. So that's why we do it the way that we do it.
Smart.
It is. Must has been around 51 years. I always tell people, if you want to know how old Must is, here were the 2 main target groups that they started the organization to serve: senior adults and hippies. Early 70s, right? I mean, you got late 60s, early 70s. So, it is an amazing organization. I'm just honored to be a part of it. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to talk to you for 1 minute, maybe separate from here, regarding the football coaches.
The football coach is very good. I'll be glad to.
Very dear to my heart.
Are they? Excellent. Well, I met with the coaching staff at North Cobb High School.
North Cobb.
They have one player there in particular that has scholarship offers from basically every major D1 school in the country. And they were noticing with him that he was just making mistakes on the field and he was doing different things and that he was losing weight. The coaches went to him and said, what is going on? And he said, we just don't have food. I was a chaplain in high school football here in Cobb for about 20 years. We would feed the teams on Friday night after the game. There was never a bit of food ever left. We catered it from Carrabba's or, different restaurants and things. Because for some of those kids, when they ate that meal on Friday night, they weren't getting a meal till they got back to school on Monday. It's staggering. It's just hard to believe that you have situations like that. So, yes, ma'am.
When you see the people on the freeway off ramps,
Yes, ma'am.
what should we do for them?
The people who are out there on the side of those freeways, the sad part is there are people who take advantage of that and they'll drive their truck and they'll park it in a quick trip and they'll walk to an intersection and they'll put up a sign. Usually those people are working the same intersections. You'll begin to recognize them. And then you'll see the people that are there in wheelchairs and things like that. And for most of them, unfortunately, that's how they try to make the ends meet. We try to get all of those people to come into a shelter, but they just won't do it. Our people who work with them, we have a peer support specialist who was homeless themselves that tries to help. It takes at least 7 touches to build any level of trust.
So is that real estate?
So,
Do you have any data about immigrants? I mean, the community and.
well, just that, we have a large volume because Must serves everyone. I have to come in with information. We're going to serve you. We're going to make sure your family has food and clothing and those kinds of things. But, there's a lot of data, a lot of the Hispanic community. The Hispanic community can float and move rapidly. We had an area that we served a lot in kind of the middle of Cobb. And then all of a sudden some property was sold and you started having beautiful homes being built and that population moved. And we'd actually thought about trying to put a bricks and sticks in that area. Now I'm so glad that we didn't because the whole area changed. And it's going to be interesting what's going to happen in the next few weeks with immigration as well. Yes, ma'am.
Do you accept donations of clothing for people who go on job interviews?
Oh, absolutely we do. Yeah, we separate it out. By the way, we're opening up our new marketplace in East Cobb. That's our thrift store. And we get great stuff. I mean, Must just has a tremendous raving fan base that looks after us. But yes, so we take that kind of clothing and we separate it off and we have it in a separate area so that our people are taking them in going, we can help you with everything that you need right here.
So is that information on your website?
Yes, and our donation center is on there as well. And you just drive up, they come out the car and take it out for you and give you a slip, for your donation and those kinds of things. We do training, OSHA training. We do Safe Surf training, which is the restaurant industry. Then we buy the steel-toe boots for people with the OSHA training so that when they go to the job site, we've got safety training and I've got my steel-toe boots. We buy the non-skid tennis shoes for the people in the restaurant industry. Usually use Cintas for those kinds of things. Someone else saw a hand. Yes, sir.
So you doubled in 3 years.
Yes, sir.
What does the next 3 years look like?
It's going to be interesting to see. A lot of it is driven by the amount of money that the government gives to be able to address these problems. And as everybody in this room is well knowledgeable of, affordable housing is virtually non-existent. And it's going to impact our county in some ways. Now, remember, I'm also on the church side of things. Our church, we say we want to be the Ken Nugent of churches. One call, that's all. And we come out and we help you. So we work with all the learning support specialists. We get bedroom suits for family. I mean, you wouldn't believe all the good things that we get to do. And so when we talk to them, affordable housing is a big issue. Here's where it really impacts you. You got kids coming out of college, the average debt is $42,000 per kid.
Yep.
And if they're coming out with a spouse out of college, now you got a household debt of $80,000, right out of the chute. Yeah, I was 32 years old before I had my first house, you know? And so what's happening now is the teachers can't live inside the county. That's beginning to impact how many kids are in your elementary schools. You watch Cobb County over the next few years, because young families, we're watching in our church how it's beginning to impact the numbers. Because those young couples starting out with an $80,000 debt load from college and then having kids, their discretionary income, where they can live, it just makes it really, really difficult. So there all the different ripple effects that you see. I see the numbers increasing, especially around the homelessness. You look at what's happening in California, you look at what's happening in Oregon. You think about the drugs that are out there and the proliferation of those drugs. The fact that well over 100,000 people died from opiates this past year, opiate overdoses. It's pretty staggering what's going on in our country. And for all these drugs that are being manufactured, that is a major issue. Addiction is a major issue. Some of the other people that live outside, just let this be a warning, because I know you're good-hearted people. You're pulling up to an intersection. Some of those people that live outside because they're sex offenders and they're felons. And they don't have like we can't take a felon in our, we got women and children that are there on a campus like that. So, you know, just be careful. There's a great book to read around this idea. It's called Toxic Charity. It's written by a man named Bob Lupton. And there's another book called When Helping Hurts. Be wise about who you partner with. Make sure they're not wasting your hard-earned dollars and they're actually getting it to the people that have the greatest need. Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to Good introduction, good introduction.
All right,
You
guys.
didn't say national treasure though. My wife said that I am a national treasure. I will not tell you the tone of voice that it was said in and the sarcasm that was driven, but just remember, national treasure. See y'all later. Bye.
All right, so go sign up if you haven't signed up yet.
Yes.
All right. Have a good day. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.